Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing great out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great weekend out there so far. Here to bring the latest information that we got on multiple things in this morning's video. The first thing we will discuss, and this will likely take up most of the video, is updated info on the tropics. There's multiple areas to watch out there. One pretty close to home. It's an area of interest that has a high chance to develop into a depression or a named storm. Our next name is Francine. Next name after that is Gordon. I think there's the possibility we'll take both names sometime over the next 7 to 10 days, especially the one closer to home, which I think will take the name Francine sometime in the next few days. So we're going to talk about all these areas. We'll really focus in on the area in the Gulf of Mexico. We'll talk about all the latest model guidance, the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll talk about the environment background that supports strengthening of this system in the Gulf of Mexico as it heads north and eventually most likely will impact the US. So we'll get you all the good information in this video. After we get done doing that, we will talk about what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Sunday, but I can tell you there's not a whole lot going on across the lower 48 for today. A pretty chill weather day, so that's always good when we can get that any day of the week, but especially on a Sunday. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. There's a good chance that we'll be making 2 videos a day over the next several days. It might let up some, but it looks like things are steadily getting a little bit more active out there. So especially with this area we're watching a little bit closer to home in the short to medium range, we definitely want to get you guys the latest and greatest information twice a day rather than just once a day. So let's get rocking and rolling out here this morning. So hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend out there so far. We're going to use blue this morning. So we are watching this area out here. This is 2 areas of interest, if you will. One is actually dubbed an invest. This one right here. But in general, I'm just going to circle this entire region. Both of these areas out here have a medium chance to develop, and we'll actually look at the actual chance percentage-wise of developing over the next 7 days from the National Hurricane Center update here in a second. So again, we'll keep that circled out here. We're watching this, not really watching this, but you know, it's there out here just popping off some shower and storm action really close to the Lesser Antilles, but not expecting any kind of development from this, but we are definitely expecting something out of this area right over here. You see the whites and the blacks, the reds. This indicates colder cloud tops, which tells us we have deeper, stronger convection in place. There's actually a little bit of a spin in the Bay of Campeche areas of the southern Gulf of Mexico, and this has a legitimate shot to develop not only into a depression, but our next named storm. And some model guidance has this developing into a hurricane, which would make it Francine. So we're actually going to talk about this area a lot after we move past this graphic, and then we will speak on this area out here because I don't want to just leave this area kind of not talked about at all. It definitely needs to be talked about because there could be a powerful hurricane that develops out of this circled area out here. It's just, is it going to bother anybody? I think that's the big question. But of course, this could fizzle out. Model guidance can drop off on it. We know how this goes. So we'll get this all back off your screen, not that button, but we keep rolling here. We'll see if we have a new update from the National Hurricane Center, and we don't. So another update will come out in another 15 to 45 minutes or so. Not expecting a whole lot of changes from it. This might bump up to a 90% chance. As of now, this is dubbed Invest 91L. So it just means that the National Hurricane Center has their eyes on it. It's dubbed an investigation and has the potential to develop into the next state, if you will, which is a depression, tropical cyclone, a storm. So Invest 91L right now has an 80% chance to develop sometime in the next 7 days. But if you look at the next 2 days, still has a pretty high chance to develop, right? A 70% chance in the next 48 hours to develop into a depression or a tropical storm, which would dub it a name, which would mean it would be Francine. So let's go back to the 7-day outlook here and go back and look at these areas out here, way out here in the Atlantic. So this one, well, actually both of them have a 50% chance to develop sometime in the next 7 days. So we'll kind of combine both. This one right here, a little bit closer to the Caribbean, and the U.S. has actually been dubbed an Invest 92L, which is this one right here. But model guidance keeps jumping back and forth with this. For one set of model runs, it'll show a powerful hurricane out of this, and then one set of model runs, it doesn't show much of anything developing out of this energy out here in the central Atlantic. So we just got to continue to watch this. But I mean, if you were looking at the graphic as a whole, you would think, okay, it looks like we got a lot of potential now out here in the tropics with 2 medium chances out of these areas of interest out here in the Atlantic. But this is the main one we need to watch, which could bump up from that 80 to a 90% chance. Maybe at the 8 a.m. update. We'll certainly watch. So let's go on and zoom into this Invest 91L. Let's make sure we got this right. Yes, this is in 91L. You tend to get them mixed up a little bit when there's multiple Invest out here. So this is Invest 91L. Has a lot of potential to become a depression. We have not had a named storm since Ernesto, which seems like that was like a month or so ago, but I don't think it was quite that long ago, but almost a month ago. So the next letter is obviously F. This would be Francine, and this will most likely become Francine. I'm highly confident in that. The experts are highly confident on that. And here it is, just popping off that intense convection. Nothing looks well put together, which was expected. Nothing is really showing a nice cyclonic flow out here, which means it would be, turning like this. Okay, you're not seeing much of that. But if you look beneath all this deep, tall convection, and you look, it's going to be hard to see, guys. I wish that the sun was up in this area, and it's starting to come up, but not fully, so there's no point in pulling up the satellite visibility here. But you'll see a little bit of flow and kind of the low-level clouds right here kind of going like this. It's very hard to see. So you're starting to get a little bit of that low-level cyclonic flow. So we have to get some sort of defined low-level circulation, and that takes the National Hurricane Center, the hurricane hunters, getting out in this thing and actually finding the changing of winds that shows that defined low-level circulation, and that'll happen. I think they're going out, tomorrow. It might be today. Somebody correct me in the comments. I should have known that. But hurricane hunters are set to go out into this sometime over the next, 24 to 48 hours. But this is it. It's just an investigation popping off that intense convection. When I say convection, I mean shower and storm activity. And especially in these areas in pink, this is tall, colder cloud tops, which is just that deeper convection. So that's a closer look at it. Of course, it doesn't look well put together. Just some nasty shower and storm activity in the Bay of Campeche right now. So we're going to keep moving. And we'll look at the latest GFS run. So what does it show? I want you to keep your eyes right over here. And I wish Tropical Tidbits, it's hard to complain because it's a free site available to the public, so we're not complaining. I do wish there was like a tab just for the Gulf of Mexico, but we'll show the entire Caribbean here. So keep your eyes over here. Has this initializing tomorrow as 1,001 millibar low. That's important because how low is the millibar currently? We're not quite sure. But we continue to move this forward here. We can only kind of guess in these cases until the actual hurricane hunters and the just recon missions go out in the system. Well, we take it into Tuesday morning. There's not much movement from this. September the 10th, next few days, 1,000 millibar low pressure system. Could be a tropical storm at this point. Very well could be. You continue to move this forward. We take it into Wednesday morning, September the 11th. Suddenly, we go from 1,000 millibar low pressure tropical depression storm to all of a sudden we have close to a category 2 hurricane, a 978 millibar hurricane. This is either a high-end category 1 or a low-end category 2 hurricane based off, if we're guessing, off millibar. You continue to go into Wednesday evening. It's a 972 millibar hurricane, category 2. Hurricane heading right towards Louisiana and affecting areas of Texas too. And then it makes landfall. Looks like it weakens a little bit because it might interact with a trough to the north, which would create a sheared environment for the system to the north. Might weaken it upon landfall. We'll have to just watch that. There's no point in diving too deeply into that scenario yet. We'll probably do that over the next couple of days. But around Wednesday night and the Thursday morning makes landfall as about a category 2 hurricane into the southern coastline, the coastline of Louisiana, and then moves inland would obviously bring impacts for the deep south, the Gulf states. As we get into Thursday from Mississippi, could ride up the Mississippi Valley into Tennessee as it weakens. So that's the scenario off the GFS. What about the Euro? The Euro is a much weaker scenario, which typically it has kind of I would say a weaker bias with tropical systems and a more northern biased. But you keep this going. We get into Tuesday. This thing has not got its act together by Tuesday. Still 1,006 millibar low. Let's hope it stays this week. And then it gets into Wednesday morning. It's 1,001 millibar low. So we're starting to get to that tropical storm status. It just takes all the way to Wednesday to do it on the Euro. And then we get to, I would say, Thursday morning, makes landfall sometime September 12th, right near the Texas-Louisiana line, more so Louisiana. As a tropical storm, a weak tropical storm, brings impacts in the Louisiana, continues to bring a lot of rain for the deep south. So if you've been missing out on the rain somehow in the deep south, this could definitely bring a lot of it. And this could certainly bring widespread impacts across the southeast. We're just not quite there to discuss impacts. I'm gonna actually show you how much rain could potentially fall per the blend of all models when we get done in the last frame of discussing this. But as far as wind impacts, a tornado threat, we're not quite there with discussing that. We need to continue to figure out how strong this is going to get and where it's going to make a landfall. But that's the latest Euro, much weaker than the GFS, right? A good 20 to 25 millibars weaker. The Icon, which we will say the Icon and the Euro AI model has done the best with this. Icon has showed a scenario with developing a tropical cyclone out of this for almost the last 7 days. But Monday morning, tomorrow morning, okay, it's probably, getting close to tropical storm status. By the time we're into Tuesday morning, it's a 996 millibar tropical storm Francine in the western Gulf of Mexico. Okay, steady, very slow strengthening at this point. And then it might strengthen quickly as we're getting into Wednesday morning, and it has a hurricane, a pretty strong Category 1 hurricane into Wednesday morning. And then this goes on and makes landfall as about a Category 1 hurricane into the western coastline of Louisiana Wednesday afternoon. So the timing is a little different. We got some making landfall Wednesday afternoon, evening, Wednesday night, some into Thursday morning, but it looks like they're all really focusing in on Louisiana right now. And then this brings obvious impacts up the Mississippi River, the Valley region, and the Delta, and so forth. Okay. What about the Canadian? I think the Canadian is kind of following the Euro here. It does strengthen this into a mid-grade tropical storm Wednesday morning. It makes landfall pretty much as a tropical storm right into Houston, the Galveston area. So it's definitely further west. I definitely think the stronger this system is, the more east it'll trend. So I would not rule out Mississippi, Alabama, heck, even the Panhandle of Florida if it strengthens fast. So that is something to watch. Of course, I know you guys know along the Gulf coastline, I don't even have to tell you, to not let your guard down. I think you're more aware of that than anybody because you live down there and how weird these systems can be as far as rapid intensification and the direction they're going in the Gulf of Mexico. But if we're looking at the GEFS ensemble, it's a pretty strong signal for this. We're not going to stay on this very long. The stronger members that you see in the yellow, even a couple, the green, even a couple yellows down here, certainly want this to go further east. But even a couple weaker members go east too. So I wouldn't say all of them are like that. But in general, this makes up 21 members. It looks like most of these members are forming a tropical system, and they go right into the U.S. Now, a lot of these members are not as strong as what the operational run. So sometimes the operational run leads the way. These are ensembles, which is always historically the best thing to look at, but it's not always on it either. So pretty strong signal that it is going to make landfall, whatever and however strong it's going to be, into the U.S. Now, we will look at the European ensemble, and same thing. All of these kind of either go into the Texas coastline or the Louisiana coastline. So, like I said, this has been dubbed 91L, and these are the hurricane models, and it all has it forming down here, kind of oozing west, if you will, and then moving north and then northeast and beelining right towards Louisiana and then moving inland across the deep south. So as far as an environment that could promote strengthening in the near term, this entire complex of energy is chilling over. I wouldn't say chilling; it's probably quite opposite. Is hovering over sea surface temperatures of around 30 to 31, 32 degrees Celsius. When you equate that to Fahrenheit, that's mid to upper 80s in Fahrenheit. So the sea surface temperatures certainly support a tropical system. And not only support it, but they support strengthening of a tropical system. So go on and check that off the box. If you're wondering where we're at here, it would be right here. Our system would be right into here, and then would probably go right over this area here. So sea surface temperatures deep into the 80s. You can check that off the box as far as something that supports tropical development. So we move forward here. Next thing you look at is the upper wind pattern. We talk about this a lot. We're going to have to switch this to black here. But the areas that you're seeing in blue, first off, this is winds at 200 millibars, so 40,000 feet up in the air. The areas you're seeing in blue, this is where we have higher winds in those upper areas of the atmosphere, 40,000 feet up in the air. The areas you're seeing in green, yellow, that's when you're getting some pretty strong winds. And this is in place because of this trough that is over the southern edge of this trough, that is over areas of the deep south. So, of course, with this dip in the jet stream that's bringing all that nice fall-like air right now across the southeast and the eastern U.S., you got a lot of strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. But where our low is currently, it's pretty much hanging out in a very low shear environment. So that's why it's able to just pop off all that shower and storm action around it right now. And that's why it's showing what it's showing with what we showed right here at the beginning of the video. So you continue with this, and let's get this in motion here. You continue with this, and we'll stop it here. Let's actually go a little bit further. We'll stop it right here. This is for tomorrow evening. We're going to draw on this a little bit. So, as far as the northern hemisphere, these tropical systems in the low to mid levels spin like this, okay, cyclonically, right? Now, what's happening in this environment is you see these lines with the kind of the arrows embedded into them, the arrowheads. You see this one's kind of going like this. This one's going like that. These are going like this. These are going like that. And if you look really closely, I mean, even I gotta look really closely. These are kind of going like this, like that. So now that I've drew all those ugly looking arrows on your screen, what you'll notice is, in general, air is being pushed out away from the system. Okay, whether it's pushing out anticyclonically or just in general just pushing away from the system, it's a pretty good environment for a divergence aloft, which means that air is being pushed away from the low to mid levels of this tropical system. This allows for more air to rise. That gets pushed away. Allows for more air to rise. That gets pushed away. So what does that mean? Creates an environment for rising air. Rising air leads to shower and storm activity. Shower and storm activity lead to an increased moist environment for this tropical system. A moist environment allows for that low-level circulation to be cocooned with moist air. Then that allows for that low pressure to strengthen, and eventually it could get its structure together and maybe even rapidly intensify. So I like to always explain that over and over again when we're breaking down an actual tropical system threat here, and this will be no different. So we have to continue to watch this environment. Now, I don't think this will be just a perfect environment for the system, especially as it moves north. Once it gets right here, yes, air is being pushed out away from the system, but one thing that's happening also is we're definitely getting some shear, I think, on the northwest side of the system right here. See how these arrows are going right into the northwest side of this L? I think that would create some shear on the northern side of the system, and you can see it pretty well here as it goes from a 972 to a 979 and then a 991. So Magellan interaction, shear on the northwest side of the system, getting dry air in the circulation of this system would allow for some weakening in this scenario. Sorry, guys. Haven't had a sneeze in quite some time, but there you go. Thank you for saying bless you if you did. But I do think in the shorter term, The environment does support gradual strengthening with divergence loft air being pushed out away from this low-level circulation. So we continue to move forward here. As far as impacts, guys, we don't know exact impacts. What I can tell you, if you live in Louisiana, Mississippi, I'm sure that this will be a tropical system. Well, it will be east heavy, which means the eastern side will probably be the most potent side of the system. Heaviest rain, strongest winds, because of that shear potentially being there on the northern and northwest side of the system. So if we're talking about rainfall, here it comes. This is due to our tropical system. We'll take it all the way out to about 7 days out. So this is going to bring a big push of heavy rain, obviously, to Louisiana. And I know I'm not showing Texas. I'll show more Texas here in a second. I got you covered. But a lot of heavy rain would get pushed into the deep south, Mississippi, Alabama, even up to Tennessee. Obviously, Louisiana, the blend of all models going for over a half a foot of rain down here in southeast Louisiana. And of course, I'll show you folks here in Texas. You guys could get a lot of rain too. You got to watch the trends. But a washout is possibly going to occur along the entire Texas coastline, a couple counties inland, but there is a sharp gradient depending on where this tropical system goes. So it's too early to discuss wind impacts. You got to just get a little bit closer to this system, figure out how strong it's going to be. Obviously, a stronger system means stronger winds. So we just got to get a little bit closer. So just bear with me with that. But, moving way out here into the Atlantic, I want to start this off by saying this is no threat currently. I am not concerned about this. This is just areas we are watching, but there is a lot of energy out here kind of dancing around, kind of almost spinning around one another. We take it into Wednesday. You see this low pressure here on the GFS, this low pressure here. On the latest GFS, it doesn't really have this developing into anything, which is a lot different from yesterday's GFS runs, which was showing a major hurricane out of this. But this energy sort of finally leaves this one behind. It does its own thing. A lot of weird stuff, a lot of pieces of tropical waves kind of dancing around out here, but nothing ever gets going. We're all the way to 10 days out. Nothing ever gets going. But if you look at the run like from yesterday, like yesterday evening, let's back it up a little bit. It gets both of these tropical systems to develop. It gets Invest 92L. It eventually develops quickly. I mean, by the end of the week, it's a hurricane. And then it gets the one behind it to develop. It turns this one into a major hurricane and threatens the Lesser and Greater Antilles. But like I said, you go to the current GFS run, it's really dropped off. The last two GFS runs have really dropped off from these developing. Now, if you look at the Euro, remember this is Invest 92L. This is just a wave behind it. Both have a 50% chance to develop. And it never develops 92L. In fact, it develops the wave behind it, which is that secondary area of interest behind 92L, which if you're really confused right now, it's this one right here, which by the way, let's see if we have a new update, and we do. So it looks like they have bumped this up to a 90% chance to develop now, like we kind of guessed, and they have bumped Invest 92L up actually another 10%. So, yeah, interesting stuff there. But anyways, regardless, it does not develop 92L, develops the way behind it, turns this into a major hurricane, but it looks like it's heading out to sea. So no real threat. But we were watching, if we look at the European ensemble, it really wants to latch on to 92L. So it kind of goes against the European run and the operational run, and the European ensemble actually picks up on 92L, and it has pretty strong support of it. And some of these members are pretty strong. We're only going to go a week out, so all the way to next Sunday morning. But it does have some pretty strong members, including this one that's a major hurricane getting into the Leeward Islands. So we are watching this like a hawk, but I don't think it's a concern right now. So that's the latest information on the tropics. Now let's talk about what's going on weather-wise back home in the lower 48. So we got this spinning upper low associated with this trough up here in Quebec and Ontario, bringing some rain, some cool rain, maybe even some pockets of snow mixed in areas up here. Some rain showers are up here in the Tug Hill Plateau, the Adirondacks. We got some rain down here in the southeast, northern Florida, southeast Georgia, eastern South Carolina. Not a big deal. And then we got a little bit of rain, across areas of the Cascades, really the northern Rockies of Oregon and Idaho. Overall, not a whole lot going on. As far as watches, warnings, and advisories, I mean, we got frost advisories in West Virginia. That's pretty wild. And heat advisories down here in southern Florida, where cold fronts just do not like to clear this time of the year. But we do have red flag warnings out here. Looks like the heat is lessening somewhat, but still excessive heat warnings down here in Southern California. But the middle of the country is just dead quiet this morning. I mean, and you look at the excessive rainfall, folks. Enjoy the nice day. I mean, this is going to be a nice day across the lower 48. I almost thought about just not even making today's forecast portion of the video, just sticking with the tropics. But I never wanted, certainly, lose this portion of the video. I know a lot of people depend on it, but a marginal risk of flash flooding in the green, overall not a big deal. In the Storm Prediction Center, no marginal or slight risk out there. Just if you live in the green, that's where you do have a general risk of thunderstorms or just some thunder out here. So pretty chill weather out here. I mean, quite literally, it's chilly in certain areas. And speaking of chilly weather, check this out. These are current conditions on September 8th. Across areas of the South and Ohio Valley and the Mid-South. You are deep into the 50s, if not the upper 40s in areas of Tennessee. I mean, certain areas might be nipping the upper 40s in northern Alabama, 50s into northern Georgia, and those higher elevations of the southern Alps, North Carolina, Tennessee. You know, temperatures are probably deep into the 40s, maybe the upper 30s, if like on top of Mount Mitchell or something like that. This will start to kickstart the leaves to start to change, especially up in West Virginia where you're deep into the 30s. But even in these areas where it's showing in like the 60s, that is a very comfortable 60s. In fact, you switch this to dew points and then look. For example, my house is in the mid to upper 60s, but the dew points are in the low 50s. So there is a stout cutoff between very moist air in the atmosphere and then very dry air. So, for example, in Augusta, Georgia, dew points are in the 50s. You get down to Savannah, I mean, dew points are still like in the upper 60s to 70s, still very moist. So, just a phenomenal air mass of the southeast. Weather-wise, you're going to continue to get some pesky showers in southern Georgia. A lot of heavy rain is possible in northern Florida. Just be aware of that. Some showers are possible along the Carolina coastline, especially South Carolina. But most of the moisture hangs out off the coast of the Gulf coastline in the southeast. But we're going to get some storm activity into the panhandle of Florida, northern Florida, and like I said, along that Georgia and Carolina coastline anytime over the next 24 hours. But everybody else is just a nice, phenomenal Sunday. Up here in the Northeast, some showers are possible across areas of the Adirondacks, Vermont, New Hampshire. They might make their way to Maine. Everybody else, though, I mean, it's a quiet weather day. We're going to get some showers overnight in the southern Ontario. So you'll be waking up to some shower activity for your Monday morning up here. But, you know, pretty nice day expected. The south central U.S., same deal. Nice weather expected. I even think you'll get a break from the rain along the Texas coastline, Louisiana coastline today. Not really much weather-wise expected. Take it all the way through the next 24 hours. There's nothing going on. A nice day down here too. North central U.S., not much different. Now you're probably going to get some energy from the backside, this upper low that swings down to the UP of Michigan. So some showers, maybe even some small hail is possible. Some rumbles of thunder will sweep through the UP of Michigan all the way down to the northern lower Michigan. And then all this energy will kind of make its way into Ontario after that. Everybody else, the Midwest, the Dakotas, the Plains, a nice Sunday expected. I keep saying that, but it's true though. The western U.S., quiet day. Now, I will tell you, across the Rockies, you're going to get some pop-up showers, really anywhere. Idaho, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Southern Cal. You guys could get some pop-up showers and maybe even a storm or two. But overall, no high-impact weather expected. So, temperatures, beautiful day. Downright chilly in the mountains of New England. I mean, Adirondacks, Green and White Mountains, I mean, all the way down to the Berkshires. Chilly temperatures, 40s, 50s, 60s. And even though you got 80s down here in the deep south, I think some areas won't get out to 70s due to cloud cover. But this entire air mass right here is just wonderful. I mean, just a wonderful air mass right in here. Just a beautiful fall-like day expected with temperatures in the 70s, some areas just the 60s, maybe some 80s, but I mean, it'll be a very comfortable 80s. So very nice temperatures for sure. Out west, still pretty hot. Nothing too crazy though, but still quite hot, especially if you live in the southwest and the valleys of the western U.S. God bless all everybody. Hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. I might have a video tonight. In fact, I probably will, but don't want to guarantee it. But God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon.